In the bustling city of Ibadan, Adora had always dreamed of finding a love that felt like a vibrant melody, one that would make her heart dance. For years, she believed she had discovered that love with Tunde. He was charming, generous, and cherished her in a way that made her feel extraordinary. Their relationship blossomed, becoming a source of admiration for those around them. Whenever Adora and Tunde entered a room, their joy was palpable, captivating the attention of friends and strangers alike. However, there was one person who seemed to harbor a hidden envy. Nneka, Adora's stepsister. Nneka had always been the polar opposite of Adora. Where Adora was gentle and nurturing, Nneka was brash and competitive. From childhood, Nneka had envied everything Adora possessed, from her wardrobe to her friendships, and even her small victories. Initially, Adora dismissed it as mere sibling rivalry, but as they matured, she realized that Nneka's jealousy ran deeper than she had thought. Still, Adora never imagined that Nneka would attempt to take away the one thing she held most dear. Tunde. Caught up in wedding plans and dreams of a future together, Adora was blissfully unaware of the brewing storm. She felt secure in Tunde's love. He would call her each morning, send sweet messages throughout the day, and always make her feel cherished. Yet she began to notice subtle changes. Tunde's responses to her texts grew shorter, and when she asked if anything was wrong, he would brush it off with a smile, claiming he was simply tired. As weeks passed, Tunde started making excuses. Work was overwhelming, he needed some space. The idea of Tunde needing space from her felt foreign. They had always been tightly bonded, sharing their lives openly. Meanwhile, Nneka's demeanor around Tunde transformed. She suddenly became overly sweet, laughing a bit too hard at his jokes and finding reasons to touch him casually. Adora noticed the shift but tried to convince herself that she was imagining things. One evening, Adora decided to surprise Tunde. She hoped to reignite the spark that seemed to be dimming. She prepared his favorite dish, donned the dress he loved, and made her way to his apartment, excitement bubbling within her. However, as she stood outside his door, a wave of anxiety washed over her. Shaking it off, she pushed the door open, expecting to see Tunde relaxing with a smile. Instead, she stumbled upon a heart-wrenching sight. Tunde wrapped in Nneka's embrace, their lips locked in a kiss that pierced Adora's heart. Time seemed to freeze as Adora stood there, disbelief coursing through her veins. The dessert she had brought slipped from her fingers, crashing to the floor and shattering the moment. Tunde and Nneka pulled away, their faces draining of color as they took in the sight of her shock-stricken expression. "Adora," Tunde stammered, but words failed him. Nneka, quick to act, feigned innocence. "Adora, it's not what it looks like," she exclaimed, her voice trembling with false sincerity. "What is it then? A friendly hug?" Adora's voice trembled with hurt and anger. Tears threatened to spill from her eyes, but she fought them back. She had trusted both of them. Her love for Tunde and her bond with Nneka had been genuine, and now they stood before her, betraying her in the worst way possible. The silence was deafening, broken only by Tunde's desperate attempt to explain himself. "I was confused, Adora. I thought Nneka was telling me the truth about you," Tunde pleaded, his voice shaky. "She said you were seeing someone else." Adora's heart sank further. "You believed her over me?" she whispered, hurt flooding her being. Nneka chimed in. "I just wanted to protect you, Adora. I thought he deserved to know. Protect him by kissing him. That's a new level of betrayal, Nneka," Adora shot back, her voice filled with bitterness. Tunde looked between the two, regret etched across his face. "I never stopped loving you, Adora. I just let my fears take control," he said, but the words fell flat against the weight of her disappointment. "I'm not a second choice, Tunde," Adora replied firmly, her heart breaking anew. "If you truly loved me, you would have trusted me." With that, she turned away, leaving behind the shattered remnants of her trust. That night, Adora lay awake, haunted by the image of Tunde and Nneka together. But as the days passed, her anger morphed into determination. She began to gather evidence, combing through messages and speaking to friends, only to discover that she had never betrayed Tunde. Instead, Nneka had been weaving a web of lies to tear them apart. Armed with the truth, Adora confronted Tunde once more. "Read this." She thrust her phone at him, revealing Neka's deceit. Tunde's face paled as he processed the betrayal he had unknowingly inflicted on Adara. "I was foolish," he admitted, his voice filled with regret. "I should have believed you." "But you didn't," Adara replied, tears streaming down her cheeks. "You chose to listen to her lies." Tunde's desperation was palpable, but Adara stood firm. "This is it," she stated, turning away from the relationship that had hurt her so deeply. Months passed, and Adara focused on her own growth. She traveled, embraced new experiences, and rediscovered her own worth. The pain of betrayal slowly faded, replaced by a newfound strength. Meanwhile, Tunde realized he had made the gravest mistake of his life. Neka, now devoid of Adaora's light, became a source of constant turmoil in his life, proving that her intentions were never genuine. One day, while walking hand in hand with a new love, someone who appreciated her and respected her, Adora spotted Tunde across the street. He looked regretful, but she simply smiled, her heart unburdened by the past. She understood that the best form of revenge was not anger, but moving on, and in that moment, she felt victorious.